Hey guys, what's up? In today's video I'm going to talk a little bit about the recent PS4 Pro announcement. When it originally was announced 6 days ago, I didn't think I'm going to make a video about it because it just wasn't that exciting. We knew they're working on the Neo and we had a rough idea what they're aiming for and that's what they did. So I didn't find it that exciting, not worth making a video about. But then in the recent 4, 5, 6 days, they added small pieces, bits and pieces to the whole story, gave a bit more detail on certain things. And now it's just one big mess and I have to make a video about it. I'm going to break down all my thoughts. I'm going to start off with the positives. Basically, the console comes at 399 euros. I don't know how that translates to dollars or pounds or whatever, but it's a fair price, right? You get a higher quality gaming experience for the price of the old console when it was originally launched. And it's not that long ago, we all know that. So that's a fair deal. Also, the console is announced to launch already at November 10th this year. Now, the first thing that came to mind when I heard that is obviously that they want to have good hardware on the market when PSVR is coming out. So PSVR is launching in October. The new PS4 Pro is launching in November. So it's a nice package for the Christmas market. I can really see them making a lot of money there. But beyond that, the description and the communication and everything they have said about this console is just incredibly vague. Like, for instance, we have this spec sheet here. I'm going to put it on the screen. Nothing on there that we didn't already know or that has been announced. A small comment on the GPU. Based on a leak, they have said that it is equivalent to an AMD RX 480, which is, to be honest, not a very fast and up-to-date graphics chip. However, like I said, it's just a leak. We don't know this. This is not an official announcement. What has been officially announced is that the console will have 4.2 teraflops. Now, Xbox's Project Scorpio is announced to have 6 teraflops, but you have to know that more teraflops doesn't necessarily mean that it's a faster console. Like, for instance, the GTX 1070 has 6.5, while the Titan X has 7, but in most instances, the GTX 1070 will perform better. So the amount of teraflops basically tells us nothing. So why the heck would you then give us teraflops as some kind of measurement? Why not say we have a GPU that has 4 GB of video memory, right? That's something tangible. That's something I can work with. But this teraflop thing is just, I don't know what this is supposed to mean. I mean, like I said, I know what a teraflop is. That's not the point, but it's just incredibly vague and pointless to give people that information. The question is, why would they do that? Why would they not come straight out and say, look, it has that much storage or that much gigabytes of video memory, whatever. And I think that's because they have something to hide, something that they don't want to talk about. And that matches quite nicely with the leak, because you really don't want to say in your presentation that our graphics power is at the level of an AMD RX 480, right? Because that doesn't sound particularly good. The other thing that drives me crazy in this whole announcement is that they keep talking about HDR. Right? First of all, HDR brightens your image up. Most of us have an HDR feature in their phone, so you know it. It basically creates 2 images and the exposure is better, you get more detail. And the demo on stage looked admittedly quite good, right? It looked great. But you need a TV that supports it, and there are already 2 standards. One is called, I think, Dolby Vision, and one is HDR10. So, and I'm sure there might be a 3rd standard soon. So it's all kind of up in the air, and it's not really something that I want that much as a gamer, especially as a console gamer. And what I mean by that is there are so many things that they could have promised and that they could have talked about. I mean, it's not like a console player sits in front of his machine and thinks like, oh, I wish I had HDR, right? That would make my gaming life so much better. It's more like you want higher resolution, you want higher FPS, you want maxed out details, you want anti-aliasing, you want 120 Hertz gaming, whatever. That's the stuff you want. And they are like, we have HDR and it's like a thing. And everyone's like, I was like, why? It's a nice feature. It looks cool, but why don't you come straight out and give us something to work with, right? So you get 4.2 teraflops and HDR. Why don't you come straight out and say what it is? Be a bit more prescriptive. But they try to be as little prescriptive as possible, and it really annoys me. The other thing, the obvious thing everyone keeps going on about is 4K. Is it 4K? Is it not 4K? They don't specifically say that again. And why? Because it won't be native 4K. There might be small downloadable games, whatever, things that run in 4K because they don't need a lot of power. But we're talking about the AAA games. We're talking about like massive, big entertainment franchises here. So they kind of shoot in their own foot, right? They promise and they're like, yeah, 4K kind of. And they keep mentioning it everywhere. And they show edited images in trailers. And then people are disappointed. I found this beautiful quote that also really fits into this whole story and just makes so much sense in this whole nonsense, basically. From Sony, they described the Pro as a console that provides unparalleled experiences for 4K TV owners. Okay, and you hear that and you're like, oh, I have a 4K TV, yeah, is it 4K? It's an unparalleled experience on your 4K TV. What the hell is going on? You know, why can they not just come out and say, look, some games will run in 4K, others maybe not, we're aiming for 4K. What is the damn problem with it? And it looks like they actually have a quite good upscale render, right? As I saw this video, this guy broking down some technical aspects of it, how it works when they upscale, like, I don't know, 1440p image up to 4K. They have really smart algorithms that smoothen out the image and make it look actually really, really good. So why don't they talk about that, right? Why don't they say, look, it runs at this resolution, we scale it up, look how awesome it actually looks, we've smoothed out all the edges, it looks great, right? That's a cool story, that's an honest story, I can live with that, I want to see that. If I have a 4K TV, I'm still in, right? I'm gonna buy this. So what's the problem with just a little bit honesty? Also, I found this really interesting quote by Andrew House, who is the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, and he spoke about the reason behind the PS4 Pro and why they're bringing it to the market, why it makes sense as a product for them. And here's the quote. He's saying, there's a dip mid-console lifecycle where the players who want the very best graphical experience will start to migrate to PC, because that's obviously where it's to be had. He then continued and said later on, we wanted to keep those people within our ecosystem by giving them the very best and very highest performance quality. Now, everything we've just heard kind of goes hand in hand with what he just said, but it seems to be just a huge bubble, right? Like a bubble that maybe is about to burst. I don't know. Who knows if it's going to be a good console or not in the end? Who knows? But all the stuff we heard is basically a cloud of a lot of nothingness that they try to sell us. And I hate this kind of shit, because it's decided by marketing departments what can be said and what can't, and what word can exactly be used in what. It's ridiculous. It's non-human, it's anti-human, and that's why it just sucks. I want to be treated like a person, right? I want to be called a gamer, and I don't want to be called like a fucking consumer. Like, I don't remember who was, I think it was EA or whatever. They just kept referring them to us as consumers, which obviously we are, but I don't like to be seen by companies as just a consumer. It's completely ridiculous, but that's a different debate. But I wanted to read this quote out because it is so interesting that he's already mentioning the PC, right? The PC as a platform. And there is this mid-cycle. You can see them all in the meeting room with a little graph that goes down in the middle. And it's like, oh, it's the console mid-cycle. People migrate to the PC, right? All this kind of bullshit. So we need to fill that gap somehow. That already shows the power of the PC as a platform by now. Everyone, I remember like just a few years ago, people were like, oh, the PC is dead, man. And now, even companies like Sony, I mean, they're gonna have to consider the PC as a gaming platform. And I understand why people also go to PC, because of things like this, right? Bullshit like this, you get treated like a shitty consumer. You basically get treated like a complete idiot, right? All these little details they give you, it's just bullshit. And I don't like to be sold bullshit all the time. So it's one of many reasons probably, but I can see the thinking behind that. Another thing that Sony said after the launch was that in multiplayer, they will have to limit the frames on both consoles to avoid advantages. So that means you're going to get like a 25 to 30 FPS gaming experience when you play multiplayer. Probably not for all games. They just said this one sentence, so it's very, again, quite vague. But nonetheless, there will be restrictions when you play multiplayer. And I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, it's true, you get an advantage. Arguably, you have better FPS, you will play better. It's just how it is. But to limit the capacity of like a faster machine to 30 FPS and kind of lock it at a certain FPS, it's just unimaginable. For me as a PC player, it's just unimaginable. The other thought is that how long will it actually take until games for the PS4 will not come to the PS4 anymore because they just made for Pro. I don't know if that's a thing. So far, obviously, they're saying, no way, all games will be always compatible and run on both consoles. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that up. There will definitely be a point in the future where they're probably going to say, this is a Pro exclusive title, maybe. I could imagine that. Obviously, they're not talking about that, but at this point, but still, it could be out there. It's just a thought. There's no Blu-ray disc drive. That's another thing on my list, and it's like, why the hell? They are not even expensive, right? Why would you not put a Blu-ray disc drive in there? It's nearly like a staple for a PlayStation console, right? The original PS3 had the Blu-ray drive, and everyone was like, great. And people were buying it for that because it was a great Blu-ray player, but also an amazing console. So great selling point. And now they're taking it out. Kind of a weird decision to me. But let me kind of come to an end here because I'm dragging this on for way too long. I think the overall insight here, or the thought that kind of shadows over everything, is that console companies, manufacturers, have to stop over-promising with their announcement. We've seen this as well with like game developers, Watch Dogs, prime example, whatever. But it's also happening on a massive scale in the console market. Even the original PS4 was like, marketed with, we'll deliver the proper next-gen gaming experience and blah, blah. It's not the next-gen gaming experience, so stop selling it to us. And if you want to sustain your company, then stop lying to people, because this was like once now, and we realize it's a bit of a shit console, and I'm sure there are consumers out there who are pissed with the new consoles, because they bought them expecting the next-gen gaming experience, and now there's already a new PlayStation 4, and it's kind of outdated, and they realized the hardware, and they actually wasn't that fast. I would be pissed. If I wouldn't know that, and I wouldn't, look at specs and stuff, I would be slightly pissed about this now. People are smart enough to realize that they're being lied to, right? That might work once, it might work twice, but in the long run, you ruin your reputation, and people are going to think, oh, look, the next PlayStation 5, amazing graphics. We know it's outdated, and we know it's a piece of shit, and you lose 2/3 of your customers, basically, because they all move over to the PC, because the PC doesn't lie, right? You buy that graphics card, it costs shit ton of money, whatever. You get a good graphics card. You can estimate the things, and here you're just dealing with this weird console mafia, I nearly want to call it, where everything is dubious and vague. I really don't like it. Anyway, taking a step back and just looking at the console itself, like I said in the very beginning, it's not a bad deal. It looks like a nice machine that runs games prettier than the PS4 and is rather affordable, which is a good thing. But the marketing, the launch, and the overall communication is terrible. They should have just said, look, the console runs full 1080p or more always, with maximum details and 60 FPS. Boom. We're not even talking about 4K, because I know 4K is a big thing, but it hasn't even arrived in the mass market yet, right? Not that many people have 4K television. There's not that many 4K content pieces out there. So it seems a bit rushed and also a bit stupid to now jump for the big 4K hurdle and keep mixing that in there, and everyone talks about 4K when your console is not ready in the first place. And people are not ready for that as well. So full 1080p or more, 60 FPS, maximum detail. That's what they should have sold on every game, and the best experience. People would have bought it. People would have freaked out and loved it. Personally, I think they don't do all this, like I said in the beginning, because they don't know if their games will actually run at full 1080p with 60 FPS and all details, right? Because that does eat up a lot of graphics power. So I fully expect games to come out on the PS4 Pro sooner or later that will not run in full 1080p, or possibly have less details or something like that, right? So you have to scale it down slightly to run on the system, but that's fine. I'm really not hating on the console or anything. It's Sony that upsets me. It's this communication that I talked about that really upsets me. I'm sure it's going to be a great console and people are going to have a great time with it, and that's the main thing, right? That's all that matters. But this communication, it's just so annoying. Like, be upfront with stuff, tell us what it is, and don't be so wishy-washy. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna bring this 4-hour video to an end now. I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. It had to be said. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like the video underneath, leave a comment if you have any thoughts, share it, subscribe to the channel if you not have yet done that. Otherwise, guys, take care, and I'm out. Bye.